Brothers and sisters, family, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I thank Allah, and I can never thank him enough for his intervention in our affairs, in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, for raising up from among us a divine leader, teacher, and guide in the personage of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I would not be where I am today in hopes of where I desire to be tomorrow if Allah did not extend his grace, his mercy, and his love, embodied in a human being that is in our midst today, that speaks the word of God, whom we are very honored and blessed that he would grace us with his presence this afternoon. He is a divine leader, a divine teacher, and a divine guide to the whole of humanity, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Brothers and sisters, without further ado, you have heard from some of the representatives and ministers of the Nation of Islam as they came before us to bear witness to the man of God in our midst today. And I think that we have indeed arrived at that moment and that hour for which we came here this afternoon for. And I ask you to join me as we receive the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Help me to receive our beloved brother. Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we give him praise and thanks for his mercy and his goodness to the human family. That goodness and that mercy reflects itself in his sending of prophets and messengers to reveal more and more of himself and his nature and his true way of life to the human family. We thank him for Moses and the Torah. We thank him for Jesus and the gospel. We thank him for Muhammad and the Quran. Peace be upon these worthy servants of Allah. As a student of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I could never thank Allah enough for his mercy to us, for his beneficence to us, in allowing us a pathway of return to him and to the nature in which we are created. When a people are lost and cannot find their way back to God, out of his mercy he always raises one from the midst of that people and gives them a message to bring that people back to him and to themselves. We believe that such a man is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we believe that the mission that Allah has given to him to raise us up from spiritual, mental, moral, political, and physical death, and to form us into a mighty nation, can never be reversed. We are on a path that can never be turned back. The black man of America and the world will rise and fulfill our destiny. We thank Allah for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I greet all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. I'm very thankful to Allah for the privilege of being before you today. I'm here because I was inspired to deliver a message to you today and a warning to you today. My young brothers who do not realize that death stands at the door. The reason I chose this subject, death, stands at the door, because early one morning last week, I awakened and turned on the television to see the news, to see how many more American soldiers were killed in Iraq due to the blunder, the arrogance, and the folly of the President of the United States. And as I was turning the dial, I saw what was a documentary on Attica prison and the rebellion that took place at Attica, and the black brothers who were killed as a result of their trying to get better treatment even though they were prisoners. They wanted better treatment in that hellhole called Attica prison. As a young minister of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I taught in all of the prisons in New York State, including Attica, many of the federal penitentiaries throughout the United States of America, and state prisons, from Folsom on the West Coast to Attica, Green Haven, Sing Sing on the East Coast, to Rayford Prison in Florida, prisons in Alabama, prisons in Texas, and in all of the prisons into which I was blessed to go to meet our brothers. In every prison there were Muslims, persons striving to follow the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, persons who united under those circumstances and were persecuted under those circumstances, and who under those circumstances fought the prison authorities legally and had the religion of Islam as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad recognized as a religion, so that the Muslims in prison could receive some of the fair treatment that other religious groups had been receiving. Muslims pay a great price in prison for that right. Looking at that television and reflecting on my work in the prisons, I paid even closer attention to the documentary because I was involved in that drama that took place at Attica. Prior to the Attica uprising, there was an uprising in the prison in Queens, New York, and they sent Brother Farrakhan to mediate the dispute. When I went into the prison, there were members of the Panther Party, members of the Nation of Islam, and just black men who were tired of the mistreatment under the security personnel at the prison. So they had taken several white guards as hostages. I knew from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that when you deal with the enemy, you have to deal wisely and quickly, because he's an impatient kind of human being, and his nature is like fire, and yours is more like water. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, as it takes 212 degrees Fahrenheit to boil water, alcohol boils at about 160 or so degrees. And so he compared the nature of the white man, or the nature of the Caucasian, and the nature of the black man as two different natures with two different boiling points. So going into the prison and talking to the brothers, I told them that I thought that it would be wise for them to negotiate as quickly as possible and let the guards go, and that I would even trade places with the guards, and they could hold me hostage until we could negotiate a settlement. They said no. Some of my Panther brothers who were at odds at that time with the nation wanted to hold on to the guards, and I told them that you don't have much time. So it would be wise for you to get what you can out of this, because if you go beyond a certain time, you will meet the wrath of this enemy. They rejected my guidance, and maybe 12 hours later, those brothers were beaten almost to death in that prison. So when Attica was boiling, they sent for me. And as a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I would not go any place without his consent. So I called him and he said, yes, brother, go. As I was preparing to go, I got a call from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said, no, brother, they seem to be handling it
pretty well, don't go. I said, yes, sir. As time went on, situation degenerated. The brothers called again for me. And I called the Honorable Elijah Muhammad again. And he said, all right, brother, go. The governor of the state of New York, Rockefeller, was sending a plane for me to fly me from New York City up to Attica Prison, which is near the Canadian border, that I might do what I could to intervene. Just as I was about to leave, get on that plane, I got another call from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he said, no, brother, don't go. Now, it's a wonderful thing to have a leader on whom you can rely and in whom you can put trust to obey. In truth, I wanted to go. In truth, I wanted to do whatever I could to ease the situation of our brothers who have now taken part of the prison and had many white hostages, and the Muslims stood around the white hostages knowing that if the brothers in their anger killed the hostages, then all of them would die because the enemy was that kind of person. So the Muslims were guarding the hostages and negotiating. So when Honorable Elijah Muhammad told me the second time, don't go, I couldn't tell him I want to go, although that was my heart. I just said, yes, sir. And in less than 24 hours, they were killing our brothers wholesale. Now, at that time in the state of New York, Farrakhan was very well known, had a huge following in New York City and Harlem, and the governor well knew my activities, and even though we did not vote, as God is my witness, I could call every black elected official, and they would respond to my call and be in my office, even though I never had voted, because they understood, even if I didn't vote, I had that kind of strength with the masses of our people. It could have been that they wanted me up in it so that I wouldn't be able to stand before you today. And it would be so easy for them to say, well, he was negotiating, something happened, and was very unfortunate. You know how they do. It's unfortunate, but the man you know as Louis Farrakhan is dead. When I saw the slaughter, I literally wept, because I wondered if I could have gone, could I in any way have made a difference and saved some precious lives of some very beautiful black men. The horror of that documentary, though, was this happened about 35 years or 30 years ago. We didn't know the full story. But in the documentary, I could see looking back more than I saw, because the news media was translating what was going on, and Assemblyman Arthur Eve of Buffalo, New York, who was a friend of mine, came to tell me what he saw, but he didn't see the whole thing. But now, looking back in a documentary, the worst slaughter took place after the slaughter. Because once they had taken control of the prison, or retaken control, the horror that they put on the brothers. I mean, it touched me so deeply last week because it gave me again a reminder of the nature of the enemy in whose hands we are and what we are about to face. Since you young people don't know the enemy, you don't know him. You don't know him like your father and your grandfather and your great-grandfather. You are out here romancing with the children of the enemy, who are also enemies. But to you, they're friends. So you feel that because you can walk downtown with a white woman and even marry her, that everything is all right. No, it's not all right, brothers. It's not all right, sisters. And you will soon come to know. When I saw that horror, something triggered inside of me, and I didn't turn the dial. And right after that documentary, one came up on a man named Randy Weaver. Randy Weaver is a white man from Iowa who took his family and moved to Idaho. He's a white man that did not think much of the authority of the government of the United States. And he joined with a white racist group in that part of the country. He took his little money, about $5,000, and bought a piece of land on a hill in Idaho, and built a home for his family, living in the woods. But he made a mistake and sold a sawed-off shotgun to an agent that the FBI had planted among that group. And I'm saying to you young brothers, don't you ever think that you can plan something against this enemy and he not know it. Because the very brother that you may be planning it with is paid and a paid informant of both of your enemies. But he thinks that by informing on you, he will be given a lighter deal. This is how they work with you who've been in prison. They catch you doing something wrong, and then they tell you they'll lighten the sentence if you will rat out your brother. And some of you believe that and do that, only to find out that the enemy hates the snitch that he made. And when he goes to kill your brother, at some point he'll kill you. He offered $30 million for Crusade and Uday. Hussein. And evidently somebody said where they were, about the Iraqi children of Saddam Hussein. And the Pentagon was happy to announce that they had killed them both, and even the grandson. never respects you. Saddam Hussein was once a friend of America. He's now the ace of spades in their deck of cards. Noriega was once a friend of America. He's doing time in Florida. All the friends that he makes that aid him or facilitate his will or his way, ultimately he turns on them. You don't have a nature that you can trust. I have some dogs and cats at the farm, and I have a dog that's a real politician. We call him Shorty. And Shorty gets along with the cats until one of the other dogs that don't get along come around. Then if one of the other shepherds start running to kill a cat, Shorty's right there with him too. I think there's a lesson in that for you if you would be wise. Everything in nature has a natural enemy. And we have a natural enemy. Does not wish to see us free, justified, and peaceful. Every black man that seems to rise economically, he's trying some way to get into your organization or your corporation to take it from you. Chicago is one of the great cities of black advancement. And now all of the things that we prided ourselves in, the enemy has them in his hand. We prided ourselves in Independence Bank. We prided ourselves in Ultrashine. We prided ourselves in these things because black men who rose from nothing took an idea and made a successful business and employed hundreds of us. And now that entity is in the hands of the enemy. We were proud of Mr. Johnson. Boy, that name Johnson keeps coming up. Johnson of Ultrashine and Johnson of BET. The only Johnson left is the Johnson at Ebony. And I hope they don't get Ebony. But right now there's a move to take over all black newspapers. And there's a move to take over all black funeral parlors. Because death has now become a big business in the black community, burying young black men from 18 to 45. Go check out Gatlin. Go check out Lee. Go check out the funeral parlors in Chicago and in every major and minor city in America. And those funeral parlors are filled with young black bodies dying, number one, from AIDS. Number two, gunshot wounds. Number three, suicide. Shotgun sawed off the barrel and sold it to this man. So we got you on a weapons charge. Now you can turn and be our agent, and we'll leave you alone. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if 30 of you in here are like that. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if some of my ministers, some of my security guards, paid for by the same damn enemy, but they smile when they don't mean it. They praise you, but they don't mean it. You don't know whether you can trust your mother today. Because money is being used to buy your soul. And since you don't have loyalty to nothing, that's why Paul in his writings could say, treacherous times would come, and men would betray us. That's what's killing the black community now. Filling black organizations and black churches a number of traitors. You think you're studying Islam together, and one of those studying with you is an agent. Big Brother definitely is watching everybody today. The church is not safe. The mosque is not safe from that kind of character. No organization is safe. So I know I'm talking to some agents. But I'll continue to talk to you. Because I still believe you can be resurrected in spite of your foolishness. But let me continue, because Randy Weaver refused to be an agent, and I'm not going to be a snitch. So when they said, you're not going to be a snitch, I said no. Then a warrant was issued. But it was up. He and his family had weapons. They were coming down from the mountain. And the marshals, federal marshals, were sent out serving, with his warrant. And unfortunately, something happened. And a marshal got killed. And his 14-year-old son got killed. Now the government in Washington, upset that a federal marshal was killed, they sent down rules of engagement. Rules of engagement means how you're going to engage the person who you believe to be your enemy. So the rules of engagement were that any sniper that they had placed in positions around the house, anyone that you see with a weapon is fair game. Listen to me now. Listen to me, brother. Anyone that you see with a weapon is fair game. So the weapon that they had bought for their protection became the instrument of their death. So the man came out of his house with the weapon in one hand, and he reached for his door, and a bullet tore through him, his hand and some part of him. And his wife came to the door, and a bullet struck his wife in the head, killing her instantly. He had him laid out in a little house on his property. It was like a shrine almost. And the wife was dead on the floor in the house. They couldn't bring her out. And keeping her in was endangering their health. Removing equipment, because now they're going to go up that hill and push the man out down into the valley. Now, down into the valley. Now, when I saw this is what triggered my desire to come out here today to talk to you and maybe choose a subject for you and me. Help stands at the door. You're partying. Inside the door, you got your Bible in your hand. Lighten up your little rock. You got your half-naked woman. She's shaking her backside and you shaking yours. And you are oblivious to what's at the door. The tanks are forming. You driving down the outer drive. You see for years all construction on the roads were up north, but not the south side. But now, new construction, concrete, not asphalt. And if you travel like we travel in every major city in America, that kind of road construction is going on. Why? So that the tanks that's going to be rolling in on the south side, I don't care what you think, but I'm warning you today, the Bible and Quran will not be laughed at. Blood is going to flow. And it'll be up to the horse's bride. Is your protection, is the justification for the enemy to slaughter you wholesale. Now I want to lay something out in the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes with the help and guidance of Allah to help you to see why this is happening to the black community in particular, but the Hispanic community as well. This was a man who used to write speeches for Nixon. He ran for president a few times. His name is Buchanan. Patrick, I think. He wrote a book recently called The Death of the West. In that book, brothers and sisters, he's talking about the death of Europe, focusing mainly on Europe, but it really also has something to do with America because he's studying the demographics of the rise of the darker populations in Europe. and the demise of white people in Europe in terms of their birth rate. Now you hear them talking about the Hispanic population in America has become the largest minority. Could be true, but I doubt it. Well, the most effective weapon you have been firing rapid fire, and now babies are popping up everywhere, and there is no accurate census on black people in America. I don't think there's an accurate census on Hispanics, because many of them are illegal. I don't want to call them aliens, because a lot of this country used to belong to the so-called Mexicans, and they're just giving it back. California, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, that was all a part of Mexico at one time. And the enemy always is using some justification for the evil that he's perpetrating. Now, what does that have to do with Islam? What does that have to do with Quran? What does that have to do with your status, your nationality? What does that have to do with the aim of Master Farad Muhammad when he came, and the aim of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Dear Christians, there's great fear among the white Christians that you're going to change your religion. And that's what's written in the Holy Quran, that Pharaoh feared that Moses would change the religion of the children of Israel. Now, what is it about religion in its truest definition that America fears? What they taught you as religion was the misuse of the holy and righteous name of Jesus, and the misuse of certain aspects of the gospel to make you a better tool of service for white people. My mother didn't go past the 8th grade, but she was smart. A brother from the Philippines was knocking at our door selling Bibles. And if you want to get to black people, just sell them a Bible. Because we love God and we love the Word of God. So as the Filipino brother was turning the page, I was just a little boy, and he couldn't say 50. He would say 50. And the Bible, I think, was being sold for, I think, $8.50. And as they were turning the pages, everything in the book was white. He was showing her the beautiful pictures of the Last Supper and all of this, and everybody in it was white. So my mother had the intelligence to ask me, you mean there's no black people in here? You mean to tell me the Last Supper? You know nobody black there? Well, the man was quick. He said, yes, but the black gave him a good West Indian cutting, and drove that dude down the stairs. But I was listening. And when I heard Malcolm X, and later the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it was clear to me that the enemy had used the Bible to make black people not a servant of Jesus and his Father, but by painting Jesus and the disciples white, they were subtly making us believe that white people are divine. And if black people, well, what is the opposite of white? And what is the opposite of divine? So then, you see, you then naturally would hate your own blackness. You naturally would hate Africa. You naturally would hate anything that reminded you of your culture and your past, because we were made to believe that what was really ours had no value. And it was done through the church. In a documentary that was on television recently dealing with the rise in America of Islam, a great black theologian said that in the 60s he was about to become a Muslim, because the argument that Muslims had against that form of Christianity was so strong, he could not defend what he believed. And then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad inspired a wave of black theologians who began to put a black face on Christianity. So that right now, you can go to church, and if you listen real good, you'll hear the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad coming out of the mouth of the preachers. Only instead of saying Allah, instead of saying Muhammad, they'll say Jesus. And you never heard no sports figure or entertainment figure accepting an award and thanking Jesus until Muhammad Ali began winning and praising Allah. So whether you realize it or not, the little nation of Islam has affected every sphere of black life in America. Wait a minute. There's probably a black organization that I have not been invited to address. Black social workers, black doctors, black lawyers, black policemen, black scientists, blacks in computer technology, black manufacturers. I don't care what it is, Farrakhan has been there. And before me, Malcolm. Now look, what effect did our being there with this message have? The people didn't come and join the nation, the little nation, but their consciousness was so effective direction mentally. I run into people every day, not every day, but when I go out, which is rare, but I can't say every day, but I run into people who say, Minister, you don't know how you affected me. I was in a church preaching one day, and Rihanna Van Zant was in the audience, and Rihanna, when the meeting was over, she hugged me, and she said, you don't remember me, but I was a student, I invited you to my college. And when you came, I told you that I couldn't stay because my mom had become sick and I had to leave. You may not remember this, but you pulled $100 out of your pocket and gave it to me and told me to buy flowers for Mom. And I never forgot that. In our reparations meeting yesterday, brother came up and said, you don't remember me, you don't know me, but I heard you in such and such a college. Each of us have affected people beyond us who may not have necessarily joined the organization that we are a part of. I want to show you something in a minute. A brother from the NAACP was speaking yesterday, and he thanked the Million Man March because the Million Man March increased their number so much that the NAACP in that city or town doubled and tripled as a result of those men coming to Washington and I bringing them to join a black organization or to join a black church. But wait a minute, I knew what I was doing. There's hardly a black church that doesn't know something of the preaching of Farrakhan. And there's hardly a black preacher who does not take my tape and study it and then turn it. Wait a minute. I'm trying to say something. Everybody's not in the mosque, but the teaching is damn near in everybody. Government right now is fighting over black youth, particularly the hip-hop generation. Please listen to me. Black youth, through hip-hop, have captured the youth world. Now, those of us who are in my age bracket, 90 to 102, you may not want to listen to hip-hop. I mean, what they're saying. I don't do it. I mean, when you turn on the radio and hear the brothers rapping, I look at the young people and they know all the rap. I can't quite pick up. Maybe I've slowed down, age, and I can't, you gotta slow it down to 33 and a third RPM. with my young brothers and sisters are saying. But the point is, it has become so effective that that beat is under every commercial now that's being sold, or just about. And you see white folks trying to rhyme and children like this, we will not be able to pass on to our children the legacy of white supremacy that we have killed. And done everything in our power to maintain. Now these young Negroes are taking our future away from us. Now this has so affected them that in Congress they were trying to get Lieberman and others to write legislation downing the lyrics of the hip hop. I guess you call them gangster rap. Biggest gangsters are afraid of the little gangsters that are coming up. Now, that's what made me want to come out and talk to you, because while you're partying, they are planning your death. Under Homeland Security, Patriot Act 1 and Patriot Act 2, the government of the United States soon is going to move on the inner cities of America and move on black youth and move on the gangs. Many of them do not want you to reform. If you say you want gang peace, that's disturbing to them, because gang peace would mean that you would stop killing each other. But like a dog that has tasted blood, you've got blood in your mouth now, and they're afraid that one day you will turn those guns on him. So they have never given you the weaponry that would allow you to be troublesome, except to yourself. Now you are on one level, and it's very small, but the game is being played on another level, because America is the #1 seller of arms to all the nations of the earth, especially third world nations. Every civil war in Africa, American weapons are there. Not enough to give England trouble. Not enough to give America trouble, but enough to give one another trouble. And so what has happened now, China has become a nuclear power. When we were in China, I think it was in 86, I believe, somewhere around in there, everywhere we looked in Beijing, there was a crazy building was going on. And at that time, American rockets that were sending up satellites were blowing up. And the Chinese had not had one unsuccessful launch. So the Chinese were bidding for the contracts to send American satellites into space using Chinese rocket technology. Korea divided. The South economically stronger than the North, but the North militarily stronger than the South, and now they're telling America, not asking your permission, we are absolutely going to have nuclear weapons. Now just a few years ago, there were tons and tons of depleted uranium on ships going to Japan. And Japan was going to use it, they said, for peaceful use of atomic energy. But now Japan feels threatened by what's going on in Korea, and they cannot afford to let that happen and Japan not become a nuclear power too. So there's an argument raging in Japan now. China a nuclear power, soon North Korea, soon Japan. Well, look at this. Since China and India don't get along, and there have been border wars with China and India, India had to develop nuclear power. And since Pakistan and India don't get along, Pakistan had to develop nuclear power. So right along in the most populous area of the earth, Pakistan, India, China, all of them now nuclear. What do they think about America? President Bush has literally made the nations of the earth tremble, and they're frightened of what America will do, so you're not going to get them to stop manufacturing so-called weapons of mass destruction. I'm coming right here now. Bush is going to Africa. What was that about? Do you think that the president really cares? Come on now, let's read it. Agent, I'll give you the tape. You don't have to write. Do you really think that President Bush cares about Africa? Do you know who's behind the war in the Sudan? And what's at the root of that? Do you know who's really behind the war in Liberia? Do you know what's at the root of that? Do you know why they went into Iraq? And what's at the root of that? It's really God. Guns, oil, and drugs. Under the Taliban, no poppy grown in Afghanistan. Now that the Taliban are gone and you think there's some crazy Muslims, well, maybe they were a little extreme. But there was no drug traffic. Now, a year and a half after the Taliban have been removed, the poppy is growing everywhere in Afghanistan, and heroin. Again, is moving throughout the earth because America wants to make the way safe for democracy. In the Sudan, the brothers in the north look just like you. The brothers in the south, nobody in here looks like them. I've never seen that kind of black anywhere in my life. Those brothers are so black till you can almost see a purplish blue. Beautiful. nationalism more than Islam, though they're Muslims. But the taint of Arab nationalism makes the North like act to the South like the light-skinned brothers in Washington and other places used to act by, and still do, by the dark brothers. The more white blood you have in you, the cuter you think you are. And the more black you are, the more ugly you think you are. So the division between light and dark, because of the imposition of white rapists, is the same in the Sudan, the imposition of the Arabs, and they're going in and out of black women. They produce a beautiful people that look like us, but in the South, where they have not had no relationship with white. But then they found a great deal of oil in the southern Sudan. So they want to divide the South from the North because the South is animist and Christian. So if you can create hatred between the North and the South over really unjust treatment by the Arab culture over the black, then America can come in and sweep the oil. That's what's happening in Liberia. Now I don't know Charles Taylor, his policy, that I didn't know him. He grew up in America. He was educated in America. He was in prison, in the same prison that Malcolm was in prison in Norfolk State Correctional Facility in Massachusetts. And somehow he got out. But he didn't get out because he had served his time. He got out some other way, went through Canada, went into the bush in Liberia, and started fighting the government in Monrovia, which has always been lenient toward, submissive to, pay obeisance to the government of America and the aim of white corporations. Firestone Rubber had a field day in Liberia. Charles Taylor now fighting in the bush. He comes to the outskirts of Monrovia, and America says, look, hold it. Don't take the capital. Let's have free and fair elections, and whoever will be elected will have our backing. They did the same thing to our brother in Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega. Schultz, the Secretary of State, wouldn't shake Daniel Ortega's hand, but he wanted a good relationship with America, so the terms were have an election. If you win, you're back. When he decided to have the election, the CIA sent millions of dollars in and bought the election, and Daniel Ortega has never been able to get back into power too. Well, now Charles Taylor agreed with America. I visited Liberia. They had a 5-man and woman presidency. 5 people leading one country. When I visited, I spoke to the 4, but Charles Taylor was out of the country. I met Charles Taylor in, I think it was either Ghana or with Ghana, and he went back and stood for elections and won. They didn't expect him to win. And from the moment that he won, America never accepted his leadership. He appealed to America to help him. What did America do? America armed the rebels. Did you hear me? Not only did America arm the rebels, they came down with a UN resolution denying Charles Taylor conventional weapons so that he would not be able even to defend his legitimate government. I mean, everywhere you look there is trouble, you can see the hand of the CIA operating in Africa. All right, now let's tie this up with what Farrakhan Muhammad wanted. He came among us. I never met him. I don't know him except through the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that was sufficient for me. Because I kept looking at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that gave me an idea of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, because I knew that he taught and shaped this man. He said that the six most powerful words that Master Farrakhan Muhammad said to black America when he came was, accept your own and be yourself. And he taught us that our self was a righteous Muslim. Now many of us are Christians. We do not know what a Muslim is, because the way they have dogged the religion and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, we think that they're talking about some alien God, some alien religion that we have no connection to. But that's because the enemy knows that if you really got acquainted with Islam and accepted your own and decided to be yourself, you would rise so quickly that your rise would produce their fall. Hold on. The thing that attracted me to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and caused me to leave the church was not that I was angry with Jesus. I love Jesus. And every Muslim loves Jesus. But what upset me with the church was, when I was coming along, they said that the most segregated hour in America was 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. The older ones of you that are here, especially you that come from the South, you will listen. You know that you couldn't visit the white church, and if you went, you had to sit in the balcony, because they didn't want no black people on the first level with white people. How many of you remember that? Would you raise your hand? Don't be timid. Now, when I was a Christian and went south to study, I went south because I wanted to see what black people in the South were suffering. And I saw there was no justice in the white courts for us, in the white schools for us, in the white business structure for us, in the white manifestation of religion for us. So when I heard Malcolm X and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I said, well, I'm going to be a Muslim. I didn't quite know what Muslim was, but I knew I had to get out of what I was in so I could make a contribution to the rise of black people. Islam is not some religion of Arabs. It's the natural religion of the human being. Listen to me carefully now. So that when you submit yourself to live by God's way of life. Now I'm not talking about religion or order of worship, prayer, fasting, pilgrimage to Mecca, zakat, or charity. Those are principles. But Islam represents not a religion, but a complete dynamic way of life. Way of life. Where God is at the center of your education, your politics, your worship, your economics, your science, every aspect of your life, God is at the root of it, and it is an all-encompassing, complete way of life. So when Elijah Muhammad said to us that God had come to form us into a nation, he already knew that the white man was never going to give us justice. Only if you had a weapon big enough to force it would white people respond to you properly. Can you prove that? You have not advanced one bit in America without the shedding of our blood. To sit in a restaurant, man, to go to a toilet, to get a room in a motel or hotel, we had to die for that. To be able to vote for somebody of our choosing, we had to die for that. And then when they give it to you, they find a way to take it back. This is a people disagreeable to live with in peace. Soon you will come to know that. Because now the enemy is angry. Because he's losing the city. And he intends to take it back. Our minister in California, Minister Tony Muhammad, and some black brothers out there, were trying to have 100,000 man march for peace. The city said that they wanted that idea, they loved that idea, they thought it was a good idea. It hasn't happened yet because 100,000 black men for peace is dangerous to those who don't want to see us organized and effectively marching toward our own liberation. Now, Elijah Muhammad called this the nation of Islam. What really means? In this book, Quran, Abraham and Ishmael are praying after they completed the work on the holiest house in Islam, the Kaaba at Mecca. And in their prayer to Allah, Abraham said, "Oh Allah, make us Muslims and raise to be a nation of Muslims. Then, if you look at the attributes that are used, surely thou art the mighty, the wise. Because in order to raise up a nation of Islam in the house of disbelief, it's going to take the power of God and the wisdom of God to bring that into reality. Now, you may not see it, but a nation is forming out of us without our even being conscious that we are already being formed into a nation. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we are a nation within a nation. And he said what we needed was land that we could call our own. If you look on the back page of the Muhammad speech and the final call, you see what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote as a Muslim program. And the first desire or want, he said, was we want freedom of full and complete freedom. Do you want that, brothers and sisters? Do you know what a full and complete freedom looks like? Do you have any idea? Do you think that the way of life that you entertain right now is freedom? No, brother. You have never known real freedom a day in your life. As I was trying to prepare for this lecture, I couldn't even write my thoughts. So I said, well, I just have to go and say what is on my heart. Because I just couldn't write for some reason. And this morning I was saying, I asked myself the question, what is life? What is life? And I gave a definition. Now, I know Webster has one. But based on my study of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and based on my study of the Quran, I said life is activity in accord with the nature in which you are created. Activity in accord with the nature in which you are created. If you are engaged in an activity that is outside of the nature in which you are created, you may call it life, but it is actually death. So the Bible says, there's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the ends thereof are the ways of death. Now, if you look at us, we are not alive. if we are living outside of the nature in which we have been created. And what is that nature? You are created in the nature to be obedient and submissive to your Creator. Babies don't come into the world to rebel. They don't know how. What you teach is what they reflect. The prophet teaches their son and said, you are born by nature a Muslim. But you are other than that because of the way you are taught. But the nature of you is to obey God. The question is, who is God? And what does God require of us that we should obey? Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to me one day that it takes 75 years to learn how to live. And when I heard that, I said, well, most of us never really learn. We are dead before we understand what life is. Now, as Muslims, we might say, I'm alive because I believe. That's just the first step. But we're not alive if we believe and then don't know what we believe. So knowing the nature of God and the nature in which he created us is in itself salvation. Because now you know how to save what God has given you by being in accord with the nature in which you were created. Now every one of us that claims to be Muslim and step outside of obedience to God, we're stepping out of the nature that preserves, protects, and gives us the freedom to grow and become what Allah desires for us to become. So the Bible says the wages of sin is what? Now every time you break from obedience to God, what is there after that? That is sin. And the wages, the payment for breaking God's law is restriction on our sight, on our hearing, on our creativity, on our listen, on our power to grow into God's word. We have restricted ourselves by living outside of obedience to God. So it don't matter what you call yourself. It's what you are. And you are what you practice, not what you believe. Okay, now follow this. Elijah Muhammad wanted to see us evolve into a nature of obedience to the word of God and the adoption of the way of life that is complete. So in America, we say, well, we're in America. We say, I'm an American tourist. And I happen to be a Muslim. Not so. your little flag and your little constitution, and you both think that that's your nationality. Not so. I'm from Egypt. I'm from Sudan. I'm from Saudi Arabia. No piece of land can give you the dimension of who you are. You are what your nature is. And if my nature is Islam, obedience to God, and I come up out of the earth is my natural home, but my nationality is I'm a Muslim. My nation is Islam. Are you British or are you Muslim? How can a flag that just came into existence tell you who you are when your existence did not begin with no flag? Your existence began with the Creator, Allah. So only Allah can define who you are. So when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, "We are a nation within a nation," he wanted us to come out of the outmoded system of things and evolve into a complete Islamic way of life. Not just visiting the mosque, hearing some teaching, or going to Jumu'ah prayer, or fasting in the month of Ramadan, or an occasional visit to Mecca. No. What Allah desires is that there be a complete way of life that frees us, justifies us, and makes us the equal of everything in creation. So at the root of education, it must be a system of education that is ordered by the Creator. A political system, an economic system, a banking system, a social system, manners and a culture ordered by God. When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad went to court, and the judge, from what they tell me, asked him about his aim and purpose. He said he was going to make Black America Islamic. And the judge said making black people Muslims was like putting pants on an elephant. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, "I got one pant leg on already." Stop. Don't clap. I want you to think now. What did he mean by that? Look at you. Before Elijah Muhammad, you were a Negro. Even our most wonderful black organization was the United Negro Improvement Association, which showed that we still had growing to do. What a wonderful, wonderful teacher Marcus Mosiah Garvey was. The Honorable Honorable Elijah Muhammad loved him and admired him. Noble Drew Ali is the father of what you call the Moorish Americans, the Moorish scientists. Noble Drew Ali was admired by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because he said he gave us a star in the direction toward Islam. And we wore fezzes, the Moorish brothers wore fezzes with the crescent and the tassel swinging freely, and they wore the name Bey or Eel. A star. Get rid of the slave master's name. You still have that to do. Get rid of your enemy's name. Johnson, Jones, Smith, White, Green, Blue, Black, Culpepper, Roundtree. This is your master's name. If you're going to be free, free yourself from the shackle of his name and free yourself from the shackle of his religion. When I say free yourself from the shackle of his religion, look at yourself as a Christian. Just look at yourself. Do you really think you are pleasing to Jesus? Wait a minute. Suppose I'm free and I'm a Christian. Brothers and sisters, the Lord told me to tell you this morning that, hey, wait a minute, stop right there. Look, Jesus is not a feminist. Some dude was on radio here in Chicago on the Cliff Kelly show talking about Jesus being a homosexual. And the Christian community didn't rise up and snatch him down and give him a good homosexual whooping. Today, in order to make that which is unnatural natural, they have to link unnatural behavior to righteous people. Why did he say he's a homosexual? Because one of his disciples who was closest to him in the Last Supper laid his head on Jesus' breast. Now that's a stretch, ain't it? He didn't say he laid his head in his lap. I'm not trying to be funny. Now listen, dear brothers, if you have this lifestyle, don't think that Brother Farrakhan is against you and doesn't love you, God doesn't love you and all that kind of stuff. But that way of life is death. And God does not approve of that, even though you like it. Okay? Sisters, same thing. And you know, God has made women. But then when you say God is love, see, then you take unnatural love and give it God's deliverance. That's not the way of God. That's Satan making evil fair seen. Okay? Now, just bear with me. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad wanted to see us develop a nation, not join America. I'm going to say that again. Now, America's judicial system, America's political system, America's economic system, America's social system, if you measure it to obedience to God, it is totally opposite God. So you can't be an American and a Muslim. You can't be a Britisher and a Muslim. Because the British system is opposite God's system. Well, you live in America. Yeah. Malcolm said that a cat can have kittens in her oven. That don't make them business. So, you can be born in this, but this is not you. The Bible calls it joining yourself on to be a citizen in a strange country. We didn't have a plebiscite to decide that we want to be American. We wouldn't have known what to decide anyway. So the white man, like a foster parent, decided you niggas are going to be Americans, but you're going to be second and third class. And if there's another class, it surely won't be first class. So Mr. Bush brings Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice on his trip to Africa to say to African people, see what I've done? I got niggas around me. See how good I am? So some people sit their dogs at their face. You tell Fido, get in the car with you. And you do look like you want to be a dog, all right. Yo, dog. You my dog, you. This is how far down we have fallen. But in reality, God wants us to be reflective of his characteristics. His main characteristic is beneficence and mercy. He's Malik Yawmiddin. He's a master. He's Rabbil Alameen. He's one who brings the thing into existence and nurtures it to its final and complete stage. He wants us to be able to bring something into existence and nurture it and make it grow in accord with God's will. So the nation is forming, and we were more close to doing that in the 60s than we are right now in 2000. Now, how do you form a nation? We got a common history, right? We have a common heritage. We speak a common language, not ours, but common. But what shapes a nation? I was in a bookstore several years ago with Imam W.D. Muhammad in Boston, and I wasn't going to buy a book, but the Imam was there looking for certain books, and I believe the Imam bought a book on Plato's Republic. Thank you. He loved philosophy. Well, since he was buying a book, I thought I would buy one too. So I bought a book on the dynamics of international law. I don't know why I bought that book. And I went home, and I had that book still somewhere in my library. I began to read, and it said, how you form a nation is first shared attitude. Now, in the 60s, we had a shared attitude toward the government, toward white people, toward our oppression and our oppressor. We did. And it says, out of shared attitudes comes beliefs. And from beliefs comes an ideology. And from beliefs comes an ideology. And from an ideology comes law that the group that has shared attitudes, shared beliefs, common ideology, accept to live by certain laws, and they become a national community, but no land. So now, we have been, I'm speaking now of the nation, under Elijah Muhammad. If you look at Elijah Muhammad's ministry, some of his greatest ministries, start with Malcolm X, Yusuf Diaz, Isaiah Kareem, Jeremiah Shabazz, John Shabazz on the West Coast. A lot of men that heard his teaching went into colleges and taught, universities, prisons, but the people didn't just jump up, as a brother of mine said the other day, and say, aha, that they were willing to accept the oneness of God and then suffer as a result of it, with the teaching turned them on. See, one of the things I like about the sun, you see, the sun does not change you. It just brings out Islam is like the sun in that if you shine that light, the light is going to affect everyone that comes under it, and they'll go this way, that way, up or down, but whatever is in starts manifesting. But the presence of light is necessary to start a revolution. Not the presence of a gun, but the presence of light. Are we clear on that? Now, what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad brought to us was a light for us. But it was a light mixed with darkness, because it was the dawn of light. Don't worry about that. We're just trying to get some air. Keep your focus. Unless they fall in. It was the dawn of light. And if you've ever been up early enough to watch the sun rise, you first see light. You don't see the sun. You see the light behind the darkness of night. And you know that day is about to break, but the sun is not in view yet, but there's the presence of light. Light, then, when it strikes you, it does not harm you. Because your eye, after sleeping through the night, must not come forcefully into the light. It's gradual. That's the way the Holy Quran was revealed. Degree by degree. Because a merciful God would not permit you to have the brightness of the light when you have been in the dark for so long. So light was mixed with darkness, and as the sun constantly began to rise, the darkness gradually disappeared, and the beauty of the light was present. Now, that's the way Islam came to America through Master Farad Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It was the dawn of light, but it was light mixed with the darkness of the night. About 400 years of mental death are 6,000 years of mental death, and our 50,000 years from being Haroon. So the process of growth is slow, but it's under God's divine control. Now, you and I, who were Muslims, we call ourselves Muslims. When Brother Malcolm left the nation, we disagreed with Malcolm. We didn't like Brother Malcolm anymore. Right? But light was growing. Malcolm went out from the nation, and a whole group of persons came up under the light that he represented. And they're still coming up under that light. Now watch how God is forming a nation. I'm almost there. In the 60s, Martin Luther King was assassinated, and 100 cities were set on fire. White people formed a commission from the president to find out who ordered this. What leader was responsible for 100 cities set on fire, and we could kill this nigga with nothing? And what they found was a shared attitude and a system of belief and an ideology developing among black people that was linking us into a national community. How do you know? Because our brother was shot in Memphis, and a fire started in Detroit, in Cleveland, in LA, in Boston, and other places. Well, what tied us together like that? Everything that white folks were doing to black people was on TV. You were watching in In Chicago, I was watching in New York, somebody watching in Boston, somebody watching in Atlanta, and we were watching white folks put fire holes and dogs on us. And we had a shared up. And we had a shared belief about the white folks that were doing that. And we didn't agree with Dr. King that we were going to turn some other cheek. We was more in agreement with Malcolm and Honorable Elijah Muhammad, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and if you kill my dog, I'll kill your cat, your rat, and your mama. So now the stuff is on. See, from Malcolm, listen, from Malcolm now, the Panthers formed. From Malcolm, a ballot or a bullet, a political reality formed. But that's because the light from Elijah was sparking an awakening, and people were doing what they thought would liberate us. So it looked like we were all divided and scattered, but we were one. Into a nation within a nation. And yesterday, I was blessed because Dr. Conrad Worrell asked if I would use my good office to call together the people who are involved in the struggle for reparations. And at the Salon restaurant, nearly 50 people from these organizations came together to discuss their effort toward reparations. Whether you know it or not, in city councils across the country, many city councils have said and voted for black people receiving reparations. It's now going to the state level, and Congressman John Conyers has introduced legislation in Congress to study reparations for what has happened to black people. Now, the reparations movement in COBRA is not the Nation of Islam. Oh, yes, it is. See, you see the nation as a mob. There's some people saying, La ilaha illallah. The nation is black people with dreadlocks, with bald head, with beards, with short dress, with long dress, or no dress. The nation is hip-hop. The nation is all of us, but being formed into something that we have no idea where this thing is going. Go to church. When I go to church, I talk about Jesus. And Christians say, I didn't know them Muslims know Jesus like that. That Farrakhan is something. Because I can take a Christian subject and relate it to the Holy Quran. And plus up the lines of division. I've been working on this for 25 years. So now denominationalism is weak in black America. there gang banging. You think you selling drugs and shooting your brother, but you're getting prepared for something. Because you can't have a gang without rules. Where you get your rules from? Where did the Panthers get their 10-point program from? Where did the new Black Panther Party get its manifesto from? They're not in the mosque, but hell, the mosque is in them. They're not ready to cut the reaper loose. Smoke the reaper then. One day you're going to give it up, but you're forming into something that you don't even know where you're going. I know you got a rock and you can't wait for the meeting to be over so you can light up. Sister out there whoring, but she don't see the end of what she's doing. You in the club dancing and shaking your butt, but you see you don't yet know. It's leading to something. Because the more you get involved in that, the more you see that that has nothing for you. The more you get involved in trinkets, the more you begin to see that the trinket can't make you happy. Women like diamonds. They say, give a woman a diamond tonight, but you better have something to give tomorrow. Well, that diamond will only last till tomorrow because she's not a material creation. All these things that you're killing one another over. A pair of Nike shoes. And you running up and down the court 6 months later, they're dry. You don't even want to put them on your foot no more. Man, that Oprah Winfrey, she's a black billionaire. She ain't happy. See, if money could make you happy, she'd really be happy. If money could make Michael Jackson happy, he'd really be happy. He ain't happy. I visited my brother Neverland. We had a great day together. But we didn't talk about riding in go-karts. We didn't talk about but we talked about whatever we talked about. But it certainly wasn't foolishness. Black folk are thinking today more than you give us credit for. We're being formed. What I heard yesterday in the reparations dialogue, a brother by the name of Bob Brown, brilliant man. You can't buy Bob Brown with a car, with a diamond ring, not Bob Brown. Bob Brown will come to you looking like a man that is, we're almost home. But Bob is into research. And he has armed lawyers who are in court. You don't know nothing about this. They're fighting Aetna, insurance companies. They're fighting the railroads. They're fighting everybody that got money from slaves. The government is the biggest fight because our fathers built the White House came to Congress, we were on loan from the slave master that had us. We never got paid for that. The slave master got a little paid for our being used to build that beautiful structure in Washington. This government owes us, brothers and sisters. Corporate America owes us. Check this out. There are some black people that have added it up. And they're passing the government. While we partying, some of us, while we are bootylicious, some others are in courtrooms fighting and discovering that corporate America has lied, that they did get their wealth from slavery. Now here's a white man that says, you can't come to school. He's crying because you got into medical school. He's crying because you got into law school. He's crying because you got on the fire department or the police force because they're trying to redress a grievance through what they call affirmative action. Look at what it has brought out of white people. The Negroes took my job. The Negroes could get into college and I was unable to get it, but the Negro didn't pass the test. He got in because he was black and affirmative action. They can't compete. This is white folks talking. And that's over entrance into a college. That's over a job on the fire department, on the police force. What do you think white folks gonna do if all of us united around the debt that is owed to us as a people? Now white folk have already told us we ain't getting nothing. What we'll do, we'll give you a monument and say y'all was doing good in Tulsa and we burned y'all down. We'll give you rosewood. We'll give you a little meaningless reparation. And what we don't want, Brother Conrad, is the enemy to steal the momentum of the movement and opt to give us $25,000 or $50,000 that they could go to the print shop and print up for less than a few pennies and give it to Negroes with an elastic band on it. So you get the $50,000 and it pops. But if you got the money tomorrow, I know what you would do. And you know what you would do. And in 1 month or less, you'll be broke again, looking for welfare, but you'll be driving a nice car. You'd have a mink coat, nice car. You'd have a mink coat. Because a fool and his money will soon part. So what I see in my conclusion is that all of us struggle to advance ourselves on every front is producing an opposite resistance that's creating in us a shared car back, sold it again to another unfortunate person, and take it back from them and sell it again to you. The game is being played. White folks messing us up with insurance. You pay more for insurance. You pay more for your loans. You pay more for your food. You pay more for the upkeep of your automobile. And you get less for living in all of it. And out of that attitude, a system of belief is forming. And if you look at the back page of the paper, what the Muslims believe, you can see a system of beliefs forming that's right in line with it. So when I sent everybody at the Million Man March and told them join the black organization that fit your thinking, as long as they're progressive, join them. And if you got them in your organization, I'll send them. Well, you can't use your organization against me. Well, you have a revolt inside your house. Because I sent you followers. I sent them inside the church. And you can't get up in your church and preach against Farrakhan now and think that the members in the congregation that I sent to you are not going to say, wait a minute, Lord. There was a revolt inside Reverend Pfeiffer's church. He's talking against Islam. He's talking against Farrakhan. He's talking against Malcolm. And most of the people, when they got Malcolm's picture on the wall, they may not have Elijah Muhammad's picture, but they had a message to the black man. Then the man was reading the Quran and quoting the Hadith. You can't get away from this. 40 years ago, you didn't know nothing about Islam, but every day now, Islam is in the news. Wait a minute. Look at the name you got. Jamil Jones. Hassan Washington. You don't know that you can't put a holy name with a slave name. You don't know that yet. But your mother just liked Jamil. She liked Rashida. Then she mixed it with Rafisha. Shabonia. But then she got Amina in there. Arafat in there. Hey, keep going. After a while, you're going to learn what that means. The disciples got Star David. The El Rukn got the crescent and the star. Keep going. You're going to learn about all of this. Something is happening in America. Islam is on the march. It's not going to be turned around. us a nation that is an example. Imagine millions of us dressed like you dressing today. See, in the 60s, we changed the style of white America. Did you know that, sisters? The Muslim sisters were wearing long dresses every day. After a while, the enemy started developing long clothes. We wore scarves beautifully. Not just to the mouth, but every day when you see the white woman. And you don't even know that you're the leader, and you become a follower. I called you Muhammad, and you went and picked up your ex again. 2XL in your clothes. You forgot Muhammad. You go in the store and ask for double X. And that ain't big enough. Do you have 3XL? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad had us washing our face. The face is pretty. Now we're made up again. Well, I can't see that. Don't nobody see the heart but God. Now you in a minute just talk about your heart. Wait a minute, sisters. Now we just talking. Some of you sisters don't realize your power. The power of the female body. Some of you do. And you learn that and then you mock at that. I don't know how in the world you could put on 5-inch heels and make all that noise going down the street because you want somebody to notice you for the wrong reason. If we became a truly Islamic nation, we would reflect the manners of Islam every day of our lives, which of course springs from prayer, fasting, charity, but developing a Muslim personality that comes from knowledge out of which grows an Islamic culture. From knowledge out of which grows an Islamic culture. Not Arab culture. That's what Elijah Muhammad wanted to see. That's why he started the University of Islam. Because he wanted to produce an educational system that was Islamic, that helped to produce young boys and girls free in the nature of their creation. That's what he wanted. I would like to see that coming in. greatest restriction of the freedom and the justice that God wants for us as a people. When you go and they say, are you an American or a Muslim? You can say, I'm a Muslim, and I live in America, and I have been granted what you call American citizenship. But being a Muslim makes me one who wants everything that God wants from me. Now I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, without land, the enemy will kill us all through the food that we're eating and the water that we're drinking. He's killing us daily. The chickens, the beef, the lamb, the pork, the eggs are being hit with hormones that fatten the chicken before time, corrupting the egg, fattening the lamb, the beef, the cow, the sheep, the pig. You can use that more. But all of it is becoming poison. The young ladies, the young girls, when I was coming along, you would get your mentions 12, 13, or 14 years old. Now, 9, 10, 11. How are you developing so fast? McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell. What's that pizza place? Pizza Hut. Fast food is killing you fast. I am hoping that as a nation of Muslims, we become more active, not in just listening to lectures, but in improving our resources and creating business, buying property, fixing it up, and establishing Islam, an Islamic way of life, in that housing development. So the more you expand and establish your way of life, he comes down as you expand. That's why he does not mind you coming to the mosque and praying and listening to preaching as long as you go out and do nothing. So, brothers and sisters, particularly my brother in California, my minister told me that 400 well-armed police with tanks can lead the black community out there fail to believe, and hopefully out of that, we'll be coming together as a nation of people. That's why he said we want justice applied equally to all, regardless of creed or class or color. Because if we as Muslims become triumphant, there will be people in the nation that don't believe like we believe, but they're part of the nation. Suppose they say they're agnostic or even atheist. Can they live in a nation of Islam under Islamic rule and find justice in that rule? Christians and Jews lived under Muslims and they found justice. All of our people are not going to readily accept be what we are. But would you persecute a brother or sister because they believe in Jesus? Or believe that Jesus is God? That's a field for teaching, not for oppression. The nationalist community are members of the nation. Are members of the nation. If they don't believe in Allah, yet, leave it alone. Time, circumstances, events shape our thinking. So when you go home to your Christian family, be respectful. Study your way of life and live it. That's the best way to teach it, is by example. Thank you for listening, and may Allah bless you as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Got out of this, but I really need to keep developing that subject so that the more we understand what Islam is, the more we will try to live it. And instead of giving people a picture of what Islam looks like, we can give people a picture of what Islam is. So, how many of you are here today for your first time? May I see your hands, please? Tell me this. Those of you who are here for your first time, how many of you believe that what you heard taught today is the truth and is good for you? Now see your hands. I guess the most important part of anything conversation that goes on between you and God as I'm talking. As I'm talking to you, but there's something going on in your head that I don't know nothing about. And in that conversation, something may say to you, man, this is what I've been looking for. And I'd like to be a part of this. And some of that conversation may say, man, I'd like to hear more. This is your house. It's for you. You're welcome here at any time. But all those who would like to become a part of the nation of Islam and really study your natural way of life and live it. Really try to live it. If you would like to be a part of that, you will be joining or becoming a part of 1,600,000,000 Muslims across this earth. But because you live in the greatest nation on earth, that the whole world is looking to America, if they could see inside America a new black man, a new black woman that are righteous and productive without being self-righteous and hypocritical. We can, from America, just turn this house into a new reality. But we gotta come out. John the Revelator says, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins and her plagues. You gotta come out. It don't mean come out and go somewhere else. It just means come out of the state of mind that white folks and their way of life have put us in. This is not good for us. The way we're living right now is just not good for us. So we need to learn all over again what God wants for us in food, in drink, in manners, in worship, in education, in science, in politics, in economics, and then let's do it. I would like to see and shake the hand of all the sisters and brothers who would like to become a part of what you heard today, the beginning of your growth into being yourself. How many of you would like to unite with me and with us in that way? Now see your hands? No. Don't do that. Thank you. Come on up, brothers. Come on up, sisters. All the rest of you, hold your places just a minute. I just want to shake your hands. There are brothers and sisters downstairs in the masala. There are brothers and sisters over in the school. So you get over here right away so I can shake your hand and unite you on to your own.
Come on, brothers and sisters, all of those who are answering the call to unite, to begin the process that will bring us back to ourselves, back to God. Please make your way down the center aisle, the sisters to the left, to my left, brothers to my right, and all of us who are sitting and witnessing this wonderful affair and this joining on to our own kind. Let us put our hands together for our beautiful brothers and sisters who are shaking the hand of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Show them your love, show them your delight, your joy to see them make this stand this afternoon. All of our brothers and sisters that are seated in the lower level of Mount Maryam, the Masala, please make your way up to the main sanctuary. We have brothers and sisters who are in the gymnasium. We have a representative and minister over there that will receive you. But please let us make our way down the center aisle. Brothers and sisters, I know you enjoyed the message today. Did you enjoy what you heard? Did you enjoy it? Well, let me hear it. Let me hear it in your applause. Let's hear it. Because as a result of this message being taught this afternoon, look at the center aisle and how full it is with our brothers and sisters who unite this day so that they can help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and those of us who are in the mission of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad change the ugly reality and condition under which we live. Put your hands together, brothers and sisters. Don't let your hands and your arms get tired. We've been waiting 400 years for our deliverance. So this is a day of great joy and happiness as our sisters continue to make their way down the center aisle to shake the hand of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. All to Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah. Today's tape is being high-speed duplicated and will be made available for purchase immediately following prayer. And you can pick up a copy of today's audio tape at the school right next door in our gymnasium. Seemed like your applause went down for a minute. What's going on now? Hey, that sounds more like it. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. Let's continue to show our love and to applaud our brothers and sisters as they make their way to shake the hand of our illustrious leader, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Let your voices be heard. Keep your round of applause. Come on, black man and woman. And brothers and sisters, if you look at the rear of the auditorium, the line of our brothers is extending outside the door of the sanctuary of Mount Maryam as we come forward in the name of God to claim our stake on the claim of God. Give them a round of applause, brothers and sisters. They come from near and far, from the south side and from the west side, from the north side and from Indiana and Wisconsin. They're coming to hear and accept their own in the nation of Islam. Give our beautiful sisters a round of applause. And now let us welcome into the mighty army of God the new recruit class of the Fruit of Islam in Chicago 2003. Give them a round of applause as they meet and greet their commander-in-chief and hear the word of instruction of how we can reclaim our own. Give them a round of applause as they come now, never to return to the street corner eating the bread of idleness, never to go back to the ways of yesteryear, but to move forward ever and backward never. Give them a round of applause. All praise is due to Allah. Show your love, brothers and sisters, as we welcome and open the doors of unlimited progress under the banner and flag of the nation of Islam. Give them a round of applause as they come now from everywhere, from all walks of life, from every station in life, with every skill in life, now wanting to live a life for God. Give them a round of applause as the line is still coming in the rear door of the sanctuary of Mount Maryam. we welcome and present to you the recruiting class of 2003 in the MGT and GCC and the mighty, mighty FOI. Give them a round of applause as they come now to accept their own, shaking hands with a man in whose heart and mind and mouth is the word and message of God. Give them a round of applause as they now come to accept their own and recommit to be themselves. Don't let your applause die down. Don't let your spirit wane. Don't let your energy fall off. This is a great day, a resurrection day, a getting up morning. They came to the grave and looked inside, but the stone was rolled away. And the black man and woman of Chicago was up out of the grave on their way to a great meeting up yonder. Give them a round of applause. They're moving now.
Boy, I didn't realize I'd be shaking that many hands for so long, you know. But, you know, brothers and sisters, look, may I just say this to you before you go? I do so appreciate your coming out when I come out. You honor me by your presence, but I would feel much better if you did not appear to be addicted to a personality than to principles. I thank Allah for the personality that He gave me, the charisma that He allows me to have, the magnetism, if you will. But what happens when the person goes? The principles remain. So you love me and I love you certainly. But we're all part of a living system that incorporates the principle of death and rebirth. So I'm not desirous of you becoming addicted to what you see as the beauty of my personality or character or bearing, but see that what that is bigger than I. Whatever is in me that attracts you is not me. It is of God. And so when I leave this earth, that thing still remains because it's bigger than I. It is also in you. So what I want you to do is to come again and listen to whoever is teaching. But what I would like to do, since my work now is inside the nation, I want to stay with you and let's grow into a magnificent example to our Christian family and even to the enemies. When they see us as we really are, they will tip their hats and they will bow. When they see you, sisters, as God created you to be, a beautiful, righteous woman, at first they won't believe what they're looking at, but in a short while they'll tip their hats because they know only God could make you into a righteous woman after they worked so hard to also to you, my dear brothers, to the teachers and the ministers who are present. I would like for you to help me evolve a nation. Thank you so much. Yes. I want to ask a question of you. We'd like to try an experiment. Maybe 2 Sundays from now. Rather than coming to the mosque at 2 in the afternoon, I would like to know if you would like to come at 10 in the morning, from 10 to 12, so you have the whole day for yourself and your family, and you come, get your nourishment, and move out. When I say nourishment, I mean the word. And if you notice, my dear Christian family, there's no choir. I ain't lying. I love singing. So when I go to church, I really enjoy the choir. But Jesus never had one. We don't read nowhere in the Bible where Jesus and his band showed up. He had the guitar swinging, the saxophone blasting, the drums. Not Jesus. The word of God in his mouth was the music that he wanted us to dance by. And that's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he never had music. Because music has a power. You sway you. And sometimes you think it's the sermon, but it's the music. But one day, I really like to see and hear Muslims sing. But one day, I really like to see and hear Muslims sing. They're just not here. I just want to hear you sing. May Allah bless you all. I certainly enjoyed being with you today. Thank you for coming. But we have meetings on Wednesday at 8, Friday, study sessions. And to all the brothers and sisters that are registered, I've developed a course of study now that I will give to you in a few weeks that we're going to be on for 90 days. That represents the atonement. And then we're going back to the work of the resurrection of our people. Thank you for listening, and may Allah bless you. I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.